All right, welcome to our next machine. This is the planer, and the planer allows us to do what the joiner does. Instead of squaring the edge, it allows us to square the face very easily. So you'll see, of course, with this pallet wood, you'll see how marked up it is, and over here as well, right? And it'll remove all of that. You just want to make sure there's no nails or anything that may hit the blades as you are using it. You also want to make sure that you have your safety glasses for every machine, of course. So let me put mine on. But you will also see a tape measure sitting on top. And that's because for this machine, you have to do a little bit of measurement before you can send it through. So I pre-measured this. You have to measure the thickness of the board because that's what's important. And the thickness of this board is about 9/16. So that means I'm going to set my height right around here. I'm going to set it at my 1/2 inch mark. These are different stops for different projects that we have. So you can see it starts at 3/4. That's usually where you start with a fresh board from over there. And then we usually get it down to about 1/2 inch. But I'm going to actually start at 1/2 inch because of the thickness of this board. It's already pretty thin. So the main parts to this machine, you have the in-feed table, and then you have to walk all the way around to see the out-feed table. So obviously you don't have to push through this machine. It has in-feed rollers and out-feed rollers inside in there. You can see that geared looking roller, and that's going to pull your material in and spit it out the back, right? And just like the joiner, this table is lower than the outfeed table by about 1/16 of an inch or whatever you set it to remove your material. You want to try to keep your material removing 1/16 or less, okay? If you are removing too much material, it's going to get stuck. You have to push it through, or it'll destroy your material and cause it to either kind of explode in the machine, and then it's just, it disappears, gets sucked up through the dust collection. You also want to make sure that that's open. So let's open that up. That is very important. If you do not open it, everything gets stuck inside there, and it will definitely cause your material to get stuck, and then we have to open it up and clean it out. Once you are ready to set up your machine, right, you have to set your table height before you can do anything. 2 ways to set your table height. You have this roller over here. We have up and down. And that's how you're going to do most of your adjustments. But if you are very, very far away from your adjustment, so I need to go from here to, about half, right? Every time that you spin this, so if I need to bring this table up, if I spin this one time around, that moved this table 1/64 of an inch. So that means if you need to move this table up almost 3/4 of an inch, you're going to be here for a while. So what we can do is pop this out, and that disengages it, so you want to see that gap. And whenever you turn this machine on, we can make the table go up and down by just tapping the switch. So if I needed to make this go up, I would turn it on, hit this, and just give it taps. I'll turn it back off, right? So I am pretty close to 1/2 inch, almost dead on. That was pretty lucky. But if you needed to fine tune, then you're gonna push this back in, and then you can kind of fine tune it if you needed to make it go up or down, so that's about half. And I want to leave that handle at about 12 o'clock. That way I remember where I started, right? So 12 o'clock on an analog clock there. A couple other settings you have here, obviously, other than the on and off button. You have the feed rate. So anytime you are removing a lot of material, so this is a 24-inch wide planer. If you're removing something that's 24 inches wide, something that's going to take up this entire table, right, you're going to want to go pretty slow. If you're removing something that's pretty thin, you can go faster, right? So right here, it says minimum length 12 inches. So the minimum length from the in-feed roller and the outfeed roller inside there that pulls it is 12 inches. So anything shorter than 12 will get stuck in there. It won't get pushed through. But what you can do is send up a backer board and send in some backup to help push it through, right? So obviously your backer board is gonna have to be the same thickness or less. That's gonna hit the in-feed roller and the outfeed roller. Our planer in particular isn't the greatest at pulling the materials through. You'll probably have to push a tiny bit, and then on the wider things, you're gonna have to push a good bit, right? So I believe that this is already set, the feed rate is already set to as fast as it can go, because I was using this a couple weeks ago to do something that was pretty thin. So I don't think I need to adjust that. I'll check whenever I turn it back on. But that is the planer in a nutshell. Planer's pretty easy to use. Just got to get the measurements correct. So I'm going to set this here and we'll run a part through. All right. So again, you want to make sure there is nothing hanging from you. Your hair's tied back. No jewelry. You also want to make sure that you never look inside here whenever the machine's on. You never know when a piece of material is going to kick back or send it, towards you. This produces a ton of chips, and if you have large knots in your board, you will see them get taken out, right? You want to keep those knots in usually, but it happens if they loosen up whenever you remove some material. So we'll start with this side. You see both sides of the board. And I'll send it through to remove 1/16 of an inch. Got it spin on full speed like every machine. This part was on the table. This part was the dirty part. You can see how much it removed and cleaned it up. After you send it through on one side, you always want to flip it over and send it through on the other side so that you're removing even amounts from the top and the bottom. You also have to adjust this. So if I wanted to remove a 1/16 of an inch, I have to spin this 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the side I'm going to send up. Here's the side that was on the table. On the table, here's the side that was facing up. So what I mean whenever I say that is, whenever you are sending your material through, you're, instead of on the jointer where the blade is on the bottom here, the blade is actually up top, right? It's right around where this Rockwell Delta sign is on the opposite side. So if you are sending something through, just realize that whatever's on top, so if I was sending this through, right, what you're looking at is what's going to be removed. This side just rides along the table, okay? So you can see tons of nail holes and stuff like that from this pallet board, right? So as we look down, you can see it's still got a curve in it, right? This will make things flatter, but it's just tracing what's on the other side. So if your board is super bowed like this, there's not really much you can do with a planer whenever it's still that long. So we can obviously cut this down into smaller pieces and stuff like that and try to save that board, but we're not really interested in saving that board anyway. All right. If you needed to remove a bunch of material, you're obviously gonna have to send it through a bunch of times. You can see I was pulling from the back side of this machine, and that's because that's kind of just how our machine works. Unfortunately, the rollers don't do that great of a job. All right, good luck on your safety test. This is the 3rd one, and once you are finished with this, we have a few more machines like the bandsaw, the drill press, the sander, the miter saw, right? And that's really about it. But this is a full view of our lab in the building.